Okay, I'd like to open the Law and Government Committee meeting, call it to order at 8:30. Can we do a roll call, Kath, please?
Sauger.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
Hendricks. Campbell.
Here.
Kunkel.
Here.
Shorten. Altough.
Here. Michael did call and indicated he had a conflict this morning, so he couldn't call in and he won't be here, so just so everybody knows. Next item on the agenda are the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Mr. Kunkel, seconded by Mr. Sauger. Any further discussion, changes, revisions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. I do not believe anyone signed in for public comments, seeing nobody in the audience. Member comments. Oh, I'm liking this a whole lot. There is no new business. You all received the legislative update in the packet. Does anybody have any questions or comments on what you received? We are pursuing the conversations with the Senate sponsor for the police social work legislation, trying to see where that is, and if it's going to be held up, I'll let you know as soon as I get further information. Routine consent agenda. Does anybody have anything that they want to remove or have? I figured. Yeah, Ms. Wagner?
Oh, 7.2, 7.3. They're quick.
7.4.
Anything else? Can I have a motion then to approve 7.1 and 7.5? Mr. Kunkel, Ms. Wagner seconds. And then whenever you want to do a roll call, Kath.
Kunkel.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Sauger.
Yes.
Altough.
Yes. 7.2. I see Sandra brought her umbrella and came.
Oh, yes. It's drizzling a little bit. Good morning.
Just a tad.
Yeah.
Right. Good morning.
Good morning. So, 25 officers are eligible to retire.
Correct. So what that means is that they've worked their 20 years and they've met the age for retiring. So between 2003 and 2005, we hired 20 officers, and that's when we took on the ICE contract and they were ramping up. And we feel like now those people are at the retirement age. So it's tricky. We wish that they gave us more time before leaving, but we often get 30 days, 60 if we're lucky. So we've been working with Carrie in finance and Suzanne in HR to see how we can kind of get ahead of this and make sure that we're able to staff, safely and appropriately.
So have any of those indicated yet that they want to retire? Or do you anticipate?
We've had a few who have been talking about it. One of them has been eligible for a long time, and we expect that he's going to be retiring. So the goal with these positions are, so as some of you may know, about 2 years ago, we took the funding away from 6 positions as we were coming off of the ICE contract. Safety Act was looming out there. We kept them on the roster.
We had 138 spots on the roster, 132 spots filled with 1 spot in kind of a long-term disability. We haven't had, we've been operating with 131, right?
Correct. So the thought is to temporarily fund these and have kind of those individuals in a queue. Because what happens, unless they're a lateral, and right now there's not a lot of folks to take lateral correction officers from, it takes about a month to 6 weeks to get them through the interviewing process and the physical, and that's if they're, they made it on a list. Then they got to go to the academy, and then they have the what we call the field training inside. So if we can start that process and have individuals in the queue, that would be great. It's still gonna be difficult if 15 of them go at one time, because this is only 3 people, but it's at least a little bit strategic and progressive.
And can I be really tacky?
Yeah.
What makes us believe that we're going to have an easier time finding people to fill those positions than Lake County did?
Well, we think that McHenry County is a much better place to work, first of all.
That was 2 stars. Of course, but I mean, just in general, I mean, if we don't have a lot of individuals to move laterally, and we're kind of pulling from the same geographic area, is there something that we can highlight, obviously outside of the wonders of McHenry County, but
Right.
beyond that?
Well, we try to show that we're kind of on the tip of the spear with some of the programs that we're doing and what the sheriff wants to do. He's talked about being innovative with the healthcare. We have a really good record in there, so we've been fully staffed. We don't have a lot of injuries that take place because, you know, between inmates, and it's not an unsafe place.
A little different kind of monitoring than they do in Lake County.
It is a little bit, it's a lot different. And there's different, so the sheriff just went down to Kankakee to look at how they're doing things down there. Now, they're a little bit different, and Lisa Shammer hopefully isn't listening, but they hire their own healthcare. They don't, it's not a contract that they have. So they literally can control that aspect of staffing and the services that are provided, and
You mean healthcare for the inmates? Okay, instead of contracting out.
instead of contracting out. Yeah, so just trying to be innovative and looking at different ways to do things, the programming that we have. The sheriff just started a wellness pilot program.
Right.
So, and there's a lot of effort put into, you know, wellness of the employee, you know, both mental, physical, financial. And I know he's trying to use a lot of that in recruiting. We get people to test. It's just passing the test that's been more challenging.
Passing the test in terms of
Math.
math.
Really?
Math has been really difficult, and there's been a lot of discussions about how to handle that without lowering the bar. And we're just not there yet. We're not gonna lower the bar. It's basic math, and I forget what grade level it is, but
Can we do a tutorial before they take the test? Yeah.
Send them over to Workforce Network, maybe.
Well, so, yeah, could do
probably
it
could.
do it through that or whatever, just as a refresher. I mean, I don't know if I'd pass a math test if I had to take one right now.
It's 8th grade.
I don't know if I'd have to.
It's not difficult.
It's 8th grade.
But it might just
I
be
mean,
a
that's an
refresher.
idea. We can talk to even the regional superintendent of schools, because she has a testing center to do
Even better.
Yeah. Okay.
Wouldn't we want them to have basic math skills anyway? I mean, just for life
But
skills?
some of it's because you don't use something in atrophy like everything else.
No, I get it, but I mean, we were just having this conversation about the fact that in terms of being just even remotely savvy about your own personal finances, that they ought to start taking a class out of high school instead of getting into that higher level math that you're never gonna use, is putting them in a class about personal finances.
And that
Or
might,
basic, you know, let's get back to the basics so that you can function and handle your own
Right.
finances.
and I think both of those are dead on target. And if there's a way that we can do something that just, you know, releases some of those brain cells that are already there and explain the connection of why that's important for police work, law enforcement, having those math skills. I don't know, but thank you. That was, I didn't realize it wasn't finding people, that sometimes it was actually having them
Yes.
meet the requirement. Yeah, that's a whole different scenario.
Yeah.
You know, to your point about how are we gonna attract, we are competitive on wages. You know, we're right there with Lake and DePage, just a shade below. We are in Unit 2 negotiations now. We're gonna have to have some movement to maintain our relative position, but we're not far back. And I think it's important to not let that gap between Lake and DePage grow as we're trying to fill these positions, because we do have a better environment to sell if our wages are close. And that's something we gotta keep in mind in the coming months.
And have a
And I-
great modern facility too.
Yes. And they won't all be filled at once, get that, but it gives you a lot more flexibility and being nimble on how to
Right.
prepare when you hear from people.
Right, and two, it was really difficult trying to come up with what does that temporary timeline looks like, so we tied it to the Lake County contract. So I put current or future, because the current one ends at the end of next year, but there may be ones moving forward, and I think if we just kind of, keep up our finger on that and keep that communication up with you guys on what it looks like. So, and the truth is, maybe nobody will retire next year, but they're eligible to retire, and
You need to be,
that's
yeah,
pretty-
and you need to be prepared.
yeah, that's a lot of people.
Do you think, is there a chance that, are you gonna go ahead and hire, and then you would be overstaffed? Or are you gonna have
So
these
we-
people?
Yeah, so we're at 131, so that would bring us to 134. And they would kind of be in the queue, so they'd be filling in right now for a lot of the overtime that we have, because we have a lot of overtime with transports, with going and getting folks out of state on warrants and subpoenas. Because of the Safety Act stuff, it's been really challenging, and there's a lot of overtime, so we would probably backfill with that and keep the overtime down.
Okay, thank you.
And that's a motion to approve resolution 7.2.
Yes, it is.
Is there a second? Carolyn? Kat, can you do a roll call, please?
Legner,
Yes.
Sauger,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Kunkel,
Yes?
Alta.
Yes. And 7.3.
I don't have a problem with it. I was just hoping if you could include the procurement page.
Oh, yes, I didn't have that before I went out of town last week when I did this, so we'll include that.
Thank you.
Apologize.
That's it.
And so that's a motion to approve, and seconded by Mr. Sauger. Roll call?
Kunkel,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Sauger,
Yes.
Legner,
Yes.
Alta.
Yes. And Mr. Kunkel, 7.4,
7.4,
the cargo van.
right, I realized, I believe we did not go out to bid for this.
No.
I believe you're pigeonholed into the Dodge Ram system because of our certification at our garage. Is that?
There were two reasons. I talked to the garage as we walked down this path. He really liked the idea that it was front-wheel drive because I wasn't going all-wheel drive, so that was the other thing that pushed it over to the Dodge. There is that comfort level they have. There's experience of McHenry City that's purchased the same platform, and we're kind of modeling after them. So there were several reasons. We did, Adam, if you can help me, we did try to look at, see if there was a state bid. There wasn't a state bid, so that's why we did go this route. But anything else?
Yeah, long story short, we were past the window for the Dodge shut their bid down earlier this year, and nothing's available on the competitive procurement sites in Northwest Suburban across the country. But we did take a look all across all our cooperative purchasing opportunities. We've done this before where we can't find it or we can't bid it, or Stellantis tells us they're not bidding it for our government fleets. That's been going on since COVID.
Yeah.
Mine is not so much about the money for the thing, it's about the fact that you get pushed into something that later on deem unworthy. But if you're comfortable and EMA is comfortable with that, someone else has modeled it, that gives me more comfort with it also. I realize there's incentive to use the Dodge program because of the garage and our certification. Get that. I just don't feel like your department, anybody should be pushed into a vehicle that doesn't meet your needs, but you feel comfortable that this is it. You've seen
I
that
do.
platform model, so.
And that really helped out having somebody else build it. They just
Right.
built it last year, so I'm able to see that and see how it would work for us. And the technology I'm using is a trailer. I salvaged a trailer that was headed for wherever, and I redid it on grant dollars. But I've been dragging that along for 13 years, and it's time to change.
Again, I'm not trying to, again, I wanted to just make sure we're making a purchase, we're putting a lot of money into that purchase, that it fits your needs and will for the immediate, hopefully longer-term future.
I really
But
hope so.
13 years is great, it's a good record. That's fine, thank you, appreciate the information. It's not there when we read all this stuff, so I
Right.
need to know why.
I'm happy to do it.
Motion
And
to approve.
I do so appreciate us being able to purchase it.
Absolutely. Seconded by Ms. Campbell. Roll call, Kat.
Sager.
Yes.
Kunkel.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
Campbell. Yes. Altough.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
There are no presentations. There is no old business. Pete, do you have anything at all?
No, ma'am.
Motion to adjourn? Mr. Kunkel seconded.